Welcome to Modcast number 13. I'm Gordo. That is not Gary. That's the other guy, Mike Capelle. Mike Capelle, welcome to the Modcast. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, I feel
pretty
like
nice in here. I tell you, pretty nice. I can see why you're hanging out here.
I feel like we've been missing the third amigo.
Uh-huh.
So it's good to get you on, my friend.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah. All right. So Modcast episode number 13. Remember, you can get this on all of your favorite listening platforms. I prefer Spotify and YouTube myself, but you can get it anywhere, and you can connect with us at Modcast.show. Modcast.show, and you'll engage with Casey Harrison, and she'll get you all squared away. And remember, questions, send in questions. You'll get some swag, you'll get some gear, you'll get some modern, who knows what, a duck, a cup, a shirt, a hat, who knows? You'll know when you open it. But send us a question. We're happy to send something along. All right, so I have a special guest, Mike Capelle. Mike Capelle, how long have we known each other?
Ooh, quite a while. It's been over a decade now.
Oh, way. Yeah.
2013?
I think 11.
11?
No, I think it was 2011.
Is that the first? Yeah, that was Innovate.
Yeah, it was San Francisco FinTech Conference. Yeah. So very fitting that we're talking all things tech today. So Mike is going to give us the history of the tech stack, what it means to have a platform, all things tech. Mike has seen it, done it, built it, managed it, maintained it, invented it. You think tech, Mike Capelle, I have got to say there's nobody in the industry that's better at technology and kind of tech infrastructure and managing a platform than you. And you know all kinds of stuff. So I'm excited about this one.
All right. Yeah. So...
all right, I just set him up.
That's quite a lead up there.
Yeah, well, here's the question: how long have you been at this? How long have you been in this industry?
Since 2004 when I started.
04. Yeah. So 04. Prior to 04, though.
Yep.
Give the listener the background. What happened prior to wealth management?
Yeah, my first career was in semiconductors. So I was at Intel for a decade and did chip design work, and then got into semiconductor fabrication and assembly. I worked for Intel for a decade. So during the
good decade, right?
Yeah,
it was the good decade.
90s. Yeah,
yeah,
a little different these days.
All right, so you were at Intel for a decade in the 90s, and then what happened?
Well, it was a heyday, and did pretty well there. Started to develop my own wealth, and had to figure out what to do with it, and started looking into like how to invest money, how to put together an estate plan. Ended up writing my own trust, of all things. And just found it incredibly interesting. So, wanted to try and see how I could pivot into wealth management. And, part of the drive, though, was I recognized how complex some of the topics were, yet it was impactful for most of the U.S. population. Like, they could benefit from this, yet I could see no real way where they could kind of understand the investment side or the estate side or the complexity around all of this. And it was an opportunity to see what can be done to make this a little bit more approachable and meaningful for consumers. We were looking at how we could take the relationships that advisors have with clients and really move them from just a focus on investments to more generally advice and guidance, and really help them make better financial decisions. So that really resonated with me.
Yep. So you and I met, I think 11, or it may have been 2012, but it was in that time period. When did you meet Gary Roth?
In 2004. So
when pre-United Capital launch.
Yeah, before the formal launch, we were getting started, starting kind of mid 2004, and that's when I jumped in, and we met shortly after that. I'm trying to remember, August maybe of 2004.
Yeah, so you guys have been elbow to elbow for quite a bit of time. A little over 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's been a great
Yeah.
ride.
Yeah. All right. So years in the business, you got in 04. What Mike didn't tell you is he had an amazing career at Intel. Then he went and walked around Europe with his lovely wife, Amy, for a little bit, for a long time. And then got back into work mode. And that's when he went on this journey. All right. So family, I gave away your lovely wife, Amy. How long have you been married?
How long have we been married? It's been
Mike, we just spoke about this like 4 weeks ago.
Years.
Right. That was the number you gave then. Yeah. 32 years of wedded bliss to Miss Amy Capelle. And how about kids?
3 boys.
Opposite of me. I've got 3 ladies. You've got 3 boys.
Yeah. I think a little different household. So 3 boys. 1 just graduated. Actually working here at Modern Wealth part-time.
Graduated from college.
From college,
not high school. Yeah, college.
Exactly. Yep. And then 1 in college at UCLA, and then 1 in high school.
Right. So. Yeah. Okay. So how tall are you? Listeners want to know.
Listeners, I heard this come up on the prior Modcast. I'm just under 5'11".
Okay, 5'11". And Calvin, the one that just graduated from college, I don't know how this happened. How tall is Calvin?
He's about 6'5".
Yeah, he's a big, tall kid. So lots of fun. All right. So one interesting family fact about the Capelle family. Tell us about the boys and their the sport of choice for the Capelle boys.
Yeah, distance running. So that was all 3 of them. Spent time distance running. The older one, Calvin, as he got taller, I think that was a bit harder on his body, so he started coming down in distance. Started doing some shorter events, but they all started distance running. He led the charge. He got the other 2 to go, and our middle one is running for UCLA right now, and younger one's doing well on the varsity team in high school.
Yeah, they're all very fast. Yeah. All right, so let's get into this. We're going to talk tech and platform and this business. So I remember leaving Smith Barney, the old Wall Street firm, Smith Barney. It's now part of Morgan Stanley. And we were going to start an RIA, my partner and I. And, back then, our quote unquote technology consultant was our salesperson at Charles Schwab, who was trying to convince us that going RIA was a great move. And then they were helping us with all the technology. So what was tech like back in the middle decade of the 2000s, 04 through 08, 09, 10 even?
Yeah, very different from where it is today. You had a smaller number of providers. You had just a much less developed industry. I'd say one of the biggest challenges back then was just interconnectivity, kind of getting your systems to talk to one another.
A challenge. It didn't exist.
Yeah, it didn't exist. You had to go off and build that stuff yourself. There was some providers that would go and just try and say, well, we'll go ahead and build everything, right? We'll be the all-in-one solution for you. But of course, they really only had enough resources to really focus on one of the 10 things they were trying to do. So as a complete solution, they normally weren't that great. But it was a very, very different environment than it is these days.
It was the Wild West, right? I mean, the routes hadn't been laid down yet. The roads hadn't been built. No connectivity, but it was out there. Go get it. Yeah,
it was.
All right, and then let's just compare and contrast. So now, what do we have today as an industry? So that was like you had planning tools. You had maybe a CRM. None of the CRMs that are out today were around then. They certainly weren't focused on wealth or wealth management or the RIA community. You had some really just getting off the ground portfolio accounting systems, but like you said, nothing was connected, speaking to each other. Email, compliance, tracking, all that stuff didn't exist. So that was then. What about now?
Yeah, now you've got a much more robust industry where the providers understand the necessity to be able to have connectivity to the different parts of the ecosystem, right? So wanting to make sure the portfolio accounting system talks to the CRM, and they talk with the financial planning system, and any little piece you have needs to have connectivity to the rest of your environment. And one of the approaches that became pretty common, and that probably really from Salesforce pushing this, was a CRM centric kind of approach to your technology, right? So we took this early on. Back then we decided to go with Salesforce in 2005, 2006, like right after we had launched United Capital. Our friend Brandon Gage was the man behind that, and that really led us down this path of at least having kind of a North Star of, hey, when our advisors and our teams, they're going to spend a lot of time in the CRM, so let's try and make that part of the system provide as much information as possible about what's happening with the client relationship. Let's go beyond it too. Let's actually put workflows in there. Let's make this kind of the hub of activity within the firm.
Yeah. So it's completely different today, right? When during the period of time we're talking about, when you wanted to open an account for somebody, it was painful, and today it's, this dream of one click, account opening and processing is, it's, the custodians have spent crazy amounts of money getting there. The workflow people have all spent crazy amounts of money making it happen through the CRM system. How close are we to like this magical land of where all the tech is amazing and I just think about it and it happens?
Yeah. Well, we're close, but every time we get towards the finish line, it moves out, right?
Right.
We live in a world where
more and more,
right?
Yeah.
It's all about delivering a broader set of services to clients. And so, okay, now we've solved the portfolio accounting and, financial planning system interconnectivity. Well, let's deliver tax prep to clients. And now we've got Thomson Reuters in the mix. Like, okay, what are we doing with that system? Or, okay, now we're doing estate work for the clients, and now we've got that, or the insurance work for the clients, and bringing that in, right? So, it's one of these things that it's always evolving and expanding, and that continues to create the challenges and opportunities for us.
What do you see is the biggest problem our advisors are facing today that we could solve through our platform? Like, what do you think is the biggest, in your view, what's the biggest challenge? Putting you on the spot a bit.
Yeah, well, I'll phrase it more as an opportunity, because I think we have such a wealth of information about our clients, yet I don't think we do a great job of using technology to help provide insights, right?
Oh.
And help put the advisor in a spot to deliver even more value to the end client. Of course, this is going to pivot into a discussion about AI, leading up to the last few years. Yeah,
we might get to AI.
To the last few years, it was all about like the next best action, right? Kind of trying to like generate what might be a challenge for a client that advisors can be talking to them about and see if they can be helpful. And obviously now AI kind of takes that to another level where it truly can go and deal with all of this unstructured data that you have about the client and the client relationship and what you've been doing with them, conversations you've been having, assuming that you're capturing all that information, and provide some real insights, right, and recommendations around things to be speaking to the client about.
Yeah, I think data is the currency of our industry at the moment, right? I really believe to your point, we are data rich. It's how do you find the gold mine and then extract the gold that really you're talking about, gold being the data, so that you have information at your fingertips. I'll tell you, this is just a quick tip. I was going to get on the phone with somebody the other day and I didn't really know who they were. And so I went to a tool that we have here. I mean, we have many AI tools, but I went to Copilot. It's in our Microsoft 365 suite. And I just said, person's name and where they live, the city that their business is in. Tell me about this person. Tell me about their business. And it was incredible that in literally, 5 seconds, I had a 2-page write-up, bullet points about this person. And, that's not data from my own system, like the tools that we use. That's just data in the universe. So firms that are using data and they're using an AI tool, how is that such a competitive advantage today in your mind?
Well,
versus the old way of, I went to the country club, I played golf with my 3 buddies. One of them referred me to his buddy Joe, who rolled over a $3 million account, and I had cocktails and dinner with him and slapped them all on the back and said thank you and moved on about my day and hoped that my buddy would refer me to another prospect at some point.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess generally speaking, I kind of think about technology in a couple of general categories, like how much it helps out with efficiency and how much it helps out with effectiveness. And I think this is where AI helps out on both fronts, because it helps from an efficiency standpoint in that you typed in some information and immediately had a wealth of information, right? That was researched out there, a ton of detail that would have taken you, I don't know, hours.
I would have never found it all.
I would have
never found it all.
Exactly. Yeah. But even more than that, it's also highly effective because certainly if you give it in the prompt, if you tell AI, the context of what you're in the advisory business, and what you give it more context, it can become then highly effective in presenting that information back in a way that fits the context for what you're looking for. So, I mean, it's a pretty dramatic improvement from where we've lived in the past.
Yeah, what got me on this was my 17-year-old, my youngest, senior in high school. She was doing a project, and it had to be on entrepreneurs as business class. And so she threw me in with 2 other famous entrepreneurs. And she was like, Dad, look at what ChatGPT says about you. And I go, what show me this. And so she showed me this whole report. I was like, my gosh, that is spooky. Wow. How much information that literally in seconds could be found about. Like, it's incredible how much data is out there and how quickly it could be accessed and then immediately put to work. And we're just talking about prospecting or human interactions or conversations, but how does it then drive efficiency for the advisory practice?
Yeah, I mean, there's again the amount of time it would take to go and pull this information together. There's no comparison to it, right? And I think to really maximize that efficiency, though, I think there's behavioral changes that have to happen within the firms and the practices that are utilizing it. I think you have to get into a habit of, I think most people these days are already starting to use the note takers, right? Yeah. You have to use that internally as well, right? So when you're working on your firm, right, and you're working on building the business, record all of that and archive it all, so that is a source of knowledge for the AI system. When you want to go and try and recall, like, how did we end up at the point we ended up in our decision making? Like, why did we make this decision that we made? And because you're doing, week after week after week, you're doing a lot of great work, and the team's doing a lot of great, and there's a lot of great thinking that goes in there. But a year later, you can't recall, why did we do, how did we end up at this point, right? Like, why did we do this a certain way? And you can now just store all of that information and let AI actually go through it and answer questions about the thought process and the strategy that got you there. And I think even more importantly, I think people have to think differently about the prompts, because I think we've been all trained on how to do search in Google. It's kind of like you're jumping way down the decision tree into kind of the solution, and you're asking about kind of optimizing around some solution you have in your head, versus stepping back and actually the prompt should be more about, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. Yeah. Help, right? And it can actually provide like strategic direction and right. thinking, right, more broadly about a different path that you could take to get to the outcome that you want.
Yeah, and it's hilarious to read your internal notes and see some of the things that it comes up with, because it's quite fun. But you touched on something there that I don't want to miss, and that is archiving what your conversations on the system, on the platform, and teaching the tool, right? Yep. And I think a lot of people don't understand that piece of it. They think, oh, I have ChatGPT, or I have Copilot, or I have, you name it, AI tool. I can just go on there and type in what I want, and it'll go out and find it and come back, and I'll use that information. But dig in a little bit on the teaching the tool.
Yeah. Well, I think, so one, I think you're touching a little bit on kind of information security as well, right?
Right.
So, you should be careful about which AI system you're using and how you're tapping into it, and ensure, you want to protect your own intellectual property and confidential information, obviously. So you need to be careful that you're using the appropriate tool that has the appropriate safeguards around that, so that isn't just being put out into, the world on the AI engine for others to learn from, see in some way, whatever it might be. So you had mentioned we use Copilot, right? So Microsoft does a good job of, really ensuring that we don't have data leakage around this, and we're containing all of the information. But what that also means, though, too, is that you can also create databases of information for AI to be referencing when you're using the AI LLM capabilities, right? And so there's different strategies around that, but the more you can share with AI, it will develop a history and a database that it's referencing when it's responding. And so the more that you can share with it, the more that you the more that you can archive and have like places where it can pull information from, the better job it can do for you. It actually, I think it changes. I'm not sure it changes a lot of different things, but one thing I think it changes is kind of how to think about training. And you could basically create reference documents. Let's say you need to train all of your staff about how to operate in the business, right? Do different processes, things like that. Well, you can go through and a lot of people already have documents around that, but they're not that great. They're not, as a new employee, you'd have to go and read through all these documents and so on. And
are they up to date?
You can put them all into a folder for AI to reference, and then put a natural language interface in front of that, right? Use AI in front of it so that employees can just ask a question about how, I'm trying to do this.
Yeah. How do I?
Come back.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, I think there's impacts in all different parts of the business on how we'll be thinking differently on how to more effectively implement it.
Yeah. Okay. So here's I'm gonna go down a different path, which is, did we call NVIDIA and order up some chips, and then build a data center and host it on Amazon Web Services, and we're building our own thing?
Sure. Yeah, that's exactly what we did.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Where I'm going is, let's talk about, and you may have something to tease me about. I don't know if you will, but you may.
Yeah.
The advisor who says, 95% of what I need is available, but it's critical that we, rub out that extra 3 to 5% in the productivity tool and build something proprietary and build something like, let's talk about building proprietary tools, systems, technology. Let's go there. Because we've made a mistake in the past. Well, we'll rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. So, there's, I think you have to rewind a bit, right? And so, back in the day, you had to build a lot of what you needed. And, for us, that was solving for all that interconnectivity that was missing, as well as kind of the interface back to the client. And, at the last firm, we ended up with a massive budget to build that out and, more importantly, to maintain it. I think everyone forgets about the maintenance cost and the ongoing care and feeding of the technology.
Yeah.
And then, to your point, I think you do get, what I've seen over my career, you can see some much smaller practices, right? These are just, 5 or 10 person shops, right?
Yeah.
And technology is not doing exactly what they want. And so they go off and decide they're going to go build something to solve for it. And not knowing that it's not just a hobby. Yes. I've got what someone did. This here.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
I love this. This is great.
That was a young punk right there. Punk for capital P, punk. Yeah.
Yeah. FlexCar. So, going off and solving problems with technology, and
spent endless amounts of money on a team to build it, and a lawyer to patent it, and a publisher to publish a book, and all kinds of fun stuff.
You took this a lot further, and I think had a lot more success than like 95% of the folks
but often
you're
teasing me a little bit about that, but building proprietary tools. So the first thing is you have to invent it, right? You have to there has to be a think tank that's like, this is the tool that we're going to go build to solve a problem.
Yeah.
Right. And then the next thing you do is you need to go hire a team to go build what you've architect, right? You're I think about it as you have somebody draw house plans, then you hire somebody to build the house, and then you have yet another group of people that maintain the house.
Yeah.
Well, the same with technology.
Don't forget all the change orders during that building process.
Yeah. And unlike a house that once you build it and you move in, it works most of the time. Technology never works.
Yeah.
It just is. It's in a constant state of fragile and needs a lot of attention and maintenance, and it has to evolve to remain relevant and useful over time.
Yep.
Right. So what are we doing different here? We've both been involved in building, inventing, building, maintaining, and evolving technology tools in our career. What are we doing different here?
Yeah. Well, I think, again, given the maturation of the wealth tech industry, right, that supports what we do, they've got big budgets. They are constantly investing, doing the research, improving their tools, expanding the capabilities. And our approach here has been to much more leverage that and not try and rebuild components here. There are so many components out there that they're commodities, right? And you can get them from different providers, and there's no need to rebuild that. And again, one of the big things that we had to solve for was kind of interconnectivity in the past, and a lot of that is solved for. They're building interfaces directly between the different tools. And, for us, it's been, how do we really focus on where are we going to get the biggest return for our investment, right? So, for us, it's what are we doing kind of in a unique way with clients where you can't really find solutions off the shelf. This ties into my prior comment about kind of the scope of services expanding, right, that we're providing to clients. Well, I think the more you expand that, you have less solutions available to you that are out of the box to help kind of present your entire service offering to a client. And so where we end up is how do we bring this together? So all the different services we're providing to clients, how do we bring it together into a cohesive experience for clients so that they can kind of see all of the underlying components that we're delivering to them, right? And the value that we're adding. But that can be a pretty thin technology layer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And really reduce the amount of investment that you're making. So it's really focused on that last mile to the client, kind of how are you presenting everything you're doing back to them, and not trying to recreate really the underlying system.
Yeah, the tools today are amazing, and let them be the the drafts person who's drawing it, inventing it. Let them be the general contractor who's building it. Let them have all the specialty in-house service providers. If we keep with this building a house thing, the plumbers, the electricians, the tile setters, the skilled labor, right? The finished carpenters. And then let them also be the maintenance provider and then continue to add on when needed, and remodel and upgrade when needed. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all when we talk to an advisor and they say, hey, look at this really cool thing I built. And what it may be really cool for them. And again, I'm guilty of this, but it adds zero value to your business. Mm-hmm. It doesn't add any value to your business.
Yeah, it can be quite a distraction without realizing it, right?
Yeah, if anything, it could be it could harm your value.
Yeah.
Right. You're not adding value and you could potentially harm your value.
Yeah. I would say one thing though that, people should try to do is, to the extent you are kind of following that strategy, you should try and influence the direction of the tools that you're utilizing, right? So to the extent they have any type of feedback or advisory boards or things like that, like get involved with them, because they're looking for feedback. They're looking for, how do I prioritize the different features we're working on or different capabilities that we want to build out? And you can influence that.
Yeah, so, you're talking about the existing tool sets. So the Orions and the Salesforce wealth management and the, all that stuff, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, they're looking for a constant feedback.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to be involved and have your tech dreams potentially built, right? Because they're going to go out and test it. And they're going to say, is this what the market wants?
Yeah.
And if it is, you get to say you were part of it. But
right. Yeah.
All right.
Well, you get honest feedback, right? So you had an idea. They'll see if other people agree that it's a good idea.
Yeah. Is Excel a financial planning tool?
I hope not.
No, it's not. But I cannot tell you how many advisors we talk to. They're like, I built this really elaborate and amazing Excel spreadsheet that I use for financial planning. Why? Like eMoney, Money Guide Pro, Right Capital. They all have really, really great instances of financial planning tools. And, go out and use best in class stuff, everybody. Just do it. It will make your life easier. And it won't detract from, the other things that you should focus your time on. All right. Let me ask you a totally different question. Look into your crystal ball, Mike Capelle, in 3 to 5 years, what does the tech landscape look like in wealth management?
Well, it would probably go along the lines of AI again. I just, because we're so early.
I don't even know that we're in the first inning. Yeah, I think we're still just warming up.
We are, and yet, like, the little that we're doing is already having a big impact, and kind of what we're seeing from utilizing it. We're doing work right now on having it help with case prep. Getting meeting prep, right? And so there you got a lot of unstructured data trying to pull together, right? Like, what should the agenda be for the upcoming meeting? And already seeing some great results from that. And I think we're just touching the surface when we're talking about kind of impacting the meeting process, the client meeting process, because there's obviously ways that it can help out in many different functions of the business. It can, investment research, right? Like, it can be helping identify great solutions with the parameters that we're looking for, with monitoring those, literally every, and this is the exercise we're going through, is like every functional area of the business, taking a look and starting to think about where AI can have an impact on it. And so when I look out 3 years, I think we're going to be in a wildly different place on how much it has been integrated into how we run almost every aspect of the business.
Yeah. One thing we didn't touch on as we come into our last moments together today, that is, how are you making decisions around AI today? You lead this part of our organization, as many other areas as well. By the way, Mike lost all the coin toss that we did. I mean, he's, compliance, legal, technology. Gary and I didn't even show up in the room when the coin was being tossed, frankly. But anyway, so how do you make decisions around tech and AI and infrastructure around here?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a quickly moving area, right? And things change rapidly, and so you need to stay connected. You need to stay connected with a network of experts and subject matter experts in the particular area to be able to stay informed about that. So we've got a great, our Salesforce consultant that we already mentioned, Brandon Gage.
Yeah, our buddy.
Tap into him and his firm about kind of what's going on in regards to AI from their perspective. We have, you had mentioned earlier, the custodians. They have some great resources, right? They have tech consultants. I was just on a call last week with a group of RIAs that custody with Schwab, and we had a roundtable discussion about AI and where everybody is and kind of best practices they're seeing, learnings they have, and so on. And you've just got to stay kind of hyper engaged with the community around this and kind of understand not only where the capabilities are moving, but what are the kind of highest ROI items to think about for our particular business.
Yeah. And then you also lead internally a group that we, our AI task force.
Yeah, we have an AI task force. It's, cross-functional, looking at where AI can impact the business. We've got Danielle Kapetsky, our chief of staff, has been doing a great job leading that effort. And, they're right now out there at one of
literally
our
today.
Office locations, working on the rollout of one of the AI pieces. So really exciting stuff, and really enjoy the engagement of that team around the topic. It is interesting how, I will say though, it is interesting because other people experience this as well. I think there is a range, right? There are certainly like people leaning forward and in their personal life using AI, and that they're like, it's all consuming for them. And then you have other folks that they're not doing anything. Like they're not, they're not too engaged, and you got to kind of bring them along.
I'll tell you something. This is really fun. I find this funny. I have an architect. He's drawing a rental home that my wife and I are going to build, and he's having a heck of a time, meeting my expectation on the layout of the build. So I go to AI. Just pick your tool. I went to a tool, and I said, please design this many square feet, this bedroom count, kitchen, laundry, living room, family room, or great room, and show me a drawing. And literally in a minute, it comes back with a drawing that was like, that's what I want drawn. And I sent it to him. I go, look, I'm not trying to do your job, but this is kind of the direction I want to go with this particular build. And he was like, no problem. It's crazy what it can do. In my personal life, I'm addicted. I use it for travel. I use it. My wife uses it for menu, recipes. It's, you can use it to manage your own money. But all right, that's Mike Capelle. I'm Gordo. This is Modcast number 13. Remember, you can get it on all of your favorite listening channels. Like it, share it, promote it. We'd love to engage with you. Ask us a question. So long. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Mike Capelle.
Thank you.